Kyle. I'm brand new to D&D, and this is just what I know for sure. I want to play the best, most baddest character ever. Do you think we can do that?
I think you need to kind of rethink that almost entirely.
Great. Well, maybe we should watch this video and figure it all out.
It's a good place to start.
I'm Scott Meiklejohn. I play Valentine on the Wildcards.
I'm Kyle Bryden. I'm the Dungeon Master to the Wildcards here on Hexplorers. And today we're going to talk about building the best character for you.
And that's the big spoiler of this entire video. There is no best D&D character, but there is certainly the best D&D character for you. So we're going to give you steps to find that best fit for you.
Mm-hmm. I think the first place to start with this is a lot of our videos is to talk with your players, talk with your DM or your fellow players, and no better place for that kind of discussion than in a session zero style situation.
So what is a session zero? If I'm completely new to this, what is that?
So session zero is kind of the common nomenclature for your first game where everyone is deciding your stats, your classes, figuring out a bit about the campaign. And even some of this information comes prior to this session zero. Session zero sometimes can be the first unofficial game, but it is at least the space in which you can come in and try and figure out how and who you're going to play.
And this is great because the DM should be giving you a session zero that has a good feel, a good atmosphere of what the campaign is going to be like. And then you can tailor your character to kind of fit that mold too.
Exactly. Preferably the DM either will have something prepared or at least is just going to verbally tell you what kind of game you're going to play. Is it going to be this grimdark political intrigue style game, hack and slash dungeon crawler, some more investigative neo-noir situation, and you will get to learn whether you're looking at lengthwise. If you're looking at a one-shot, you're looking at a shorter kind of campaign with a general idea of a stop-start, or it's a campaign and it ends when it ends. In our case, 3 years and still going.
So let's go just a bit even before this session zero. You got the player's handbook and you're looking at it and you're going, which class should I be? Which race should I be? Here's our advice for this. You got to figure out how you like to play the game the most. And you got to take that in combat situations and perhaps even these role play kind of situations. So why don't we talk about combat a bit first?
Sure. I mean, combat, it's going to be the style of fighting you want to do, right? Like you have to kind of consider, do you want to be up in the blood and guts? Do you want to be hacking and slashing like a barbarian? Do you want to kind of maybe stay back from the fight, but keep arrows flying in through, keeping ranged attacks? Perhaps you want to take a look at magic. In those cases, you're looking at a ranger with range attacks and wizard, or one of the many casting classes that you and your DM can kind of decide what fits your best play. But that's the way you want to look at your kind of combat. But then RP comes in, and how do you want to play that kind of, what kind of character do you want that character to be when you're not fighting?
Yeah, do you want to be good at finding and tracking things like out in the woods? Do you want to be really good at sneaking and stealthing? These are the kind of things you want to think about. And when you start to make these decisions in your head, yes, I want to be this. No, I don't want to be this. This is when you can start looking at the classes in the book and decide what fits you best. And you can start to look at the races too and see how they kind of flow into those classes and would be a good fit for you.
And you'll find too, within that session zero and talking with your DM, what is going to be most important in your game. Is your game going to be a dungeon crawler where RP is not quite as heavily favored? Maybe your bardic characters don't quite fit here. Maybe it is going to be a very dark political intrigue character. Maybe your barbarians running around in this big metropolis city isn't exactly what you want. If you do, you can always tailor them to fit the situation, but it's best to know the situation.
Totally. So now you've made those choices. It's time to roll up your character. And here's the biggest thing that we can tell you. Great advice just for all of D&D. You don't win D&D. There's no point where you've won it. It's not a game that you win. Yeah. So when you're adding these, dice, I forget what it's even called.
Stats,
when you're assigning your stats, exactly. When you're assigning your stats, assigning your modifiers, don't think about it like, how can I win this game? I got to have the best min-maxed look at this character.
Yeah, there are obviously optimization is going to be helpful. Knowing that a wizard is going to want to have relatively high intelligence. Without that main stat, without your main casting stat in that case, you're going to have a tough time doing the wizard things.
Mhm.
But there are plenty of classes that have multiple stats that are important. Looking at a ranger, you want your ranger to have a relatively high dexterity, to be nimble and quick, and also pretty good with the bow. They also have a casting stat, which is your wisdom. So you also have to keep in mind where your stats need to lie. They don't need to be the highest stat. There are plenty of good cases for having maybe not a -1 or an 8 in your casting stat as a wizard, but perhaps having a dump stat of dexterity for your wizard means you're not going to be great at everything, and that's good.
Totally, because that's what the party's for. The party are all going to be good at various different things. When we were speaking a bit about this before, Kyle, you used a really good word, and it was effective. If you are like optimizing these stats, you'll probably be more effective, which if you're new can be very fun. If you're not new and you're looking for like a bit of a challenge, or you're really looking to lean into your character in a specific way, that maybe they play a bard who uses the charisma stat a lot, but maybe you want to play a bard who isn't naturally charismatic, is a bit awkward, and you want to try and have that growth for the character and figure that out. By all means, it's your character. You do what you want.
Absolutely. And there is something to absolutely be said for that. But especially for new characters, or new players, sorry, it's going to be more rewarding to have an effective character. I know that it's difficult when you're rolling and you're missing and you're trying stuff and it's failing. It can be disheartening. Disheartening. That's a perfect word. It's going to be disheartening. You're not going to want to keep going with it. So as much as I don't particularly like min-maxing personally, there is importance in knowing what stats are important. They don't have to be your highest stat, but they should be decent.
So you've decided on your character, but maybe before you put that final lock it in stone, chat to your party as well and your DM and figure out what other people are playing. Never want to tell someone they can't play one class because someone else in the group is playing that class. Yeah. That's not how we play. We're not very like discouraging like that. That being said, if there's 6 of you who are being wizards, this could be a bit of a problem when it comes to actually playing the game.
It will, again, it'll come back to that session 0, and it'll come back to talking to your DM and your fellow players, whether that is going to work for your party. Because sure, maybe it's a cool idea, but it could be super fun to have a bunch of wizards.
Yeah,
or,
it could be.
How many times have we heard the 6 or 4 turtle monks? You know what I mean? You're the Ninja Turtles.
The Ninja Turtles.
Super cool, but you are putting yourself at a somewhat disadvantage as a party construction, as you now don't have a dedicated healer or a healer at all. You don't have any magic in this Ninja Turtles example. So talking with your DM to kind of establish if that's what you want to do, great. And your DM is going to have to kind of either shape the game with that in mind, or perhaps, honestly, the DM might say, you know what, that's not exactly the game I want to run. Either maybe we could try something else, or maybe it just isn't going to work altogether. And sometimes that's the way it goes.
Yep. And when you're starting out, if you're brand new to this and you're playing right at level 1, we just want you to know, you're not going to be able to cast a fireball if you're a wizard right away. Yes. There are certain like class things that you won't be able to do. You're not going to hit for very hard, and that's okay because you are level 1.
Yes.
But it's important. We mentioned this before. You got to figure out have a rough idea how long you're going to be playing here. Because if you just know you guys are going to be playing this maybe twice a year, maybe don't start at level 1 because that won't be as fun. Go for a higher level because then you'll get access to cooler features and spells. But again, it's all about talking to the party and DM how you want to play that.
Yeah, you have to set your expectations. If you know you're going to be level 1 and you're only playing 1 or 2 games, well, don't expect that you're going to get to cast a wish. It's probably not going to happen. If you're playing a campaign and you want to build and slowly make your way forward in that campaign, it's going to be a longer style game. You're going to grow with your character. That's good. That's what you want. And that's a great time where you know that it might be rough at the beginning, but you're going to grow. You got to give it time, and things will improve. Things will get better. And that's all you can ask for is growth and improvement and a collaborative, fun storytelling experience.
But here's the thing. Let's say you're new to this. You've built your character. It's been several games. You've gone up a couple levels. If you're still really not liking your character, you feel like you made a mistake with your class, Talk to your DM. In another video on multiclassing, we tell a whole story about how one of the players in our group had to chat with Kyle because they weren't enjoying playing that class anymore. And Kyle, how did you remedy that?
I mean, it was a couple different stages, but for the most part, it was swap classes. I found an interesting way to change out their class to something that they were more interested in, and it fit really well. And it's pretty much been that way ever since. It's all about communication between, especially your DM and the player, but between players as well. If you're not having fun, find a way to make it fun. Otherwise, you're not going to want to play. And this is awesome.
That's it. Don't recommend doing that all the time. Don't talk to your DM every game and be like, okay, now I want to do cleric. I think I got to just.
There's limits. Have some expectations.
That's it. And if you start to look at someone else's character and think that class is pretty cool, there's always multi-classing when you level up later. And if you want to know way more about that, we got a video we're going to link below down in the info box there that you can see for that.
Yeah.
Kyle, any closing thoughts on building the best character?
I think, back to the first thought, there is no best character, only what's best for you. Think about how you want to approach your RP, how you want to approach your combat. Maybe try and use a character from pop culture as a reference point to get yourself started. And if you have just a cool idea that maybe doesn't quite fit exactly, or you can't find a way, always work with your DM and try and experiment, have fun with it. And your DM hopefully will guide you through to a great game experience.
And if you're looking for inspiration, you want to see how these classes work out in the wild in a higher level, you can check out our stream. We got plenty of classes that you can check out and see how we play them, what's fun about them, what the limitations are. And you can check that out. I'm going to link down below here. We have the entire playlist of our Wildcards campaign stream that is ready for you to watch. But for this video, that's all. If you liked it, we would really appreciate if you hit like or hit subscribe. It really helps the channel out, and there'll be plenty more of these kind of videos coming up on the channel.
Yeah, more of these kinds of videos, but also more of our Wildcards gameplay, which comes out every Tuesday, so stay tuned for those.
But for now, this is where we're going to leave you, so we'll catch you in our next video. Bye.